Hey, it's Vicky, and today I'm here to talk about some upcoming book releases that I am interested in. So these are books that are coming out in April, May, or June of this year. And many of them are books from authors I have read previously. So that's kind of interesting. A couple of them aren't though. But yeah, let's just dive in. So the first book that I want to talk about is one I'm pretty excited about. It comes out on April 4th and it is Kate Morton's new book, Homecoming. And Kate Morton is an author I've read like 3 or 4 books from her. I do still have a couple unread backlist books of hers on my TBR, but I heard she was coming out with a book this year and yeah, that's exciting. And Kate Morton kind of does this same sort of method every book she does, where there is some sort of mystery in the past that someone in the present day is trying to sort through. So there's kind of like 2 timelines, and throughout the book you kind of see how the 2 are connected and the mystery gets solved. And this book is no different. This one deals with a woman who goes to Australia to help her ailing grandmother, and basically discovers that her family is somehow connected or something to this sort of true crime that happened in Australia in the 50s, where this family was murdered on Christmas Eve. And so she's kind of trying to put it all together. And so yeah, it just sounds really interesting. It sounds like a nice big chunky mystery, because this one is like over 500 pages long, and I'm really looking forward to reading it. The next book that I am interested in this spring comes out also on April 4th, and it is called House of Cotton by Monica Brashears, I believe is how you say her last name. But this one, first of all, the cover kind of caught my attention when I saw it, and then the premise also just sounds very intriguing. It's about a young woman named, I can't remember what her name is, Magnolia, and she's a young woman just trying to make ends meet. She's working at a gas station as a cashier, and one night this sort of mysterious man comes in and offers her a modeling job at his funeral home, which right there sounds very strange and sort of dangerous, but she agrees to it. And then just, yeah, it's about this sort of strange experience that she has, because this man, whose name is Cotton, starts to request stranger and stranger things. And so the other sort of buzzword that attracted me to this was it is a Southern Gothic novel, and I do enjoy Southern Gothic, so it sounds weird, it sounds oddly dark, and I want to read it. And then the last book that's coming out in April that I want to check out is from another author that I have read previously and really enjoyed, and that is Looking Glass Sound by Katrina Ward. Last year I read The Last House on Needless Street, and it was a 5-star read for me. I absolutely loved it. And this one also sounds like it's gonna have sort of that very psychological kind of craziness or sort of twists that Last House on Needless Street had. This one deals with a writer who goes to, I believe, his childhood home to write what he's calling his last book. And the book is sort of dealing with an experience he actually experienced as a child, where he and a group of his friends discovered a body. And then there's this other sort of plot where one of his same friends from that group later stole a memoir that he had been writing and basically turned it in as his own, and it became this huge best-selling book. And so he's dealing with that. And then also he starts to experience some just weird things while he is at this place writing about his childhood, this crazy time in his childhood. And so I feel like this one is going to have all of that like psychological stuff that Needless Street had, but also it seems like it might have a little bit of like a coming of age kind of vibe, which you guys know I love. So I'm really looking forward to checking this one out. It seems like it's gonna be really good. So there's only one book coming out in May that is kind of on my radar, and it's from an author that I've put her books on my TBRs, but I've never actually have read anything by her. So she's kind of one of those authors that I've heard good and bad things about. But this one is called Beware the Woman, and it comes out, I believe, on May 30th. And The reason that I kind of want to check this one out is because it takes place in Michigan's Upper Peninsula. I am a Michigander and I've been to the UP many times. My dad is actually from the UP. So if a story takes place in the UP, like I want to read it, you know? And this one deals with a woman who is pregnant with her first child, and she is up with her husband visiting her father-in-law, and she has some sort of medical emergency or something, and she has to just kind of stay in the cabin and rest. And so she's very isolated, and the UP in general, you know, it's not a very populous sort of place. It's a lot of like nature and wilderness and not a lot of people. And so she's isolated, and then isolated on top of isolation, sort of, because then she's also isolated in this cabin, and she starts to think that maybe like there's something weird going on with her father-in-law. So like it's kind of giving off maybe like a Rosemary's Baby sort of vibe, where she's like, she doesn't really feel safe, and she's in this situation where she can't leave. And so it just sounds kind of cool, and like I said, the setting just has me going. So I don't know if I'm gonna like it, but I will probably check it out just because it's an Upper Peninsula book. And then there's 2 books coming out in June that I am interested in checking out. The first one comes out on June 6th, I wanna say. Let me double check that. June 6th, yes, and it is S.A. Cosby's new book, All the Sinners Bleed. Now, I read Razorblade Tears last year, and I enjoyed it. I believe I gave it 3 stars. I really liked the writing style and everything, and some of the themes it explored, and this one sounds like it's going to be very good. It deals with a black man who is the sheriff of a town in somewhere in the American South, and so that right there, he has to deal with a lot of issues of like racism and stuff like that, being in his position and being black. And then in his community, a school shooting happens, and the shooter is killed by police, and then they sort of start investigating, and they realize that the shooter was quite possibly being abused by the teacher that he killed, he or she. I'm not sure if it's a female or a male student, but and so it kind of dives into that whole thing. So it just sounds like it's going to be very like emotionally gripping, and it's also going to deal with issues of social justice. And yeah, it's one that sounds good to me and I want to read. And then the last book that I want to read is Riley Sager's new book. I mean, if Riley Sager's coming out with a new book, I'm gonna read it, right? It comes out on June 20th. It is called The Only One Left, and this one is like a gothic sort of story about a young woman who goes to this big gothic mansion on like a seaside cliff or something to care for this elderly woman who decades prior was basically in like a Lizzie Borden type situation where her entire family was killed, and everybody thought it was her or said it was her, but the police they didn't have the evidence to pin it on her. They couldn't prosecute or anything like that, so she was never tried or anything, but it was kind of one of those things where everybody said, yeah, she killed her whole family and got away with it. So she goes to be this sort of caregiver for this woman who is now in her 70s, and she one night says, I want to tell you the story of what happened. So this just sounds like it'll be, like I said, really gothic. The setting alone just has me interested because I love stories that take place in big gothic mansions in the middle of nowhere. Just so great. And you know, Riley Sager is one of those writers where his books are always good for me. I have never like hated a book. Okay, Survive the Night I didn't really like, but usually his books will get 3 or 4 stars from me. So, and I've kind of just come to expect to read one every summer, so I'm gonna read this one. All right guys, so those are some books that are coming out this spring that I am interested in reading. Let me know down below if you want to check out any of these books as well, or let me know if there are any books coming out that I may have missed that you think I should check out, because I would love to know. I don't want to miss out on any good books. And yeah, that's it. So I hope you guys are having a great week, and I will talk with you soon. Thank you so much for watching.